And that function is range. Range allows us to define a list of numbers or a range of numbers using just a simple function with a couple of arguments. So when I do this for x in range 0, 6, what's going to happen is that loop is going to repeat itself starting at 0 and then incrementing by 1 until it reaches 6. Here's an important caveat though. Range 0, 6 includes everything. It includes 0, it includes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It does not include 6. So this will not print the number 6. It will stop at 5. Why is that? Because this, when we say stop at 6, it's stopping before 6. It's just how they chose to define it. So that's just something important to remember. If you want it to include 6, or if you wanted to start at 1, you would say 1, 7. If you wanted to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let's just really quickly code that out. But look, I don't have to define another variable now with a list. I can literally say for int number in range is lowercase, and I'm going to say 0, 6, print int number. I'll just print the number. Okay, so when I run that, you can see it starts at 0 and ends at 5. If I wanted to say print 1 through 6, I would say 1, 7, and then it starts at 1 and ends just prior to 7. So it's always going to end at whatever the first interval is before that thing. So if I'm counting by ones, the last interval before 7 is the number 6. You'll get used to thinking in those terms as we move forward. So if I wanted to say 0, 6 in my range, there's actually an easier way to do it. If I'm okay with starting at 0, all I have to do is put the end number in there. And this is the same as putting 0, 6. So range 6 is the same as doing this. Now notice, it starts at 0 and ends at 5, but how many times does that loop run? How many times does the loop run? It runs 6 times. That's correct. So if I want a loop, if I want to create a simple loop that does something a specific number of times, this is the absolute easiest way to do it. It's easier than a while loop. It's easier than a for loop that has a list. I don't have to do anything with this number, right? I can just print hello. If I want to print hello 6 times, there it is. Easy. So if I know how many times I want something to loop at the beginning of the loop, using a range is a very simple way to just run that code 6 times. And whatever you put here doesn't really matter because you're probably not going to actually access that number, or you may or may not. But you don't have to use this in your code block. It can just be there as a marker to keep track of that number from as it goes through the range. One more thing that's kind of interesting. This is a little bit of a side quest, but you might use this at some point. If I give 3 arguments, okay, so we know what one argument does. If I just give range 1 argument, 1 number, it'll just go that number of times. If I give it 2 arguments, right, starts at 0, counts to 30. If I gave it 0 and 30. Anybody want to venture a guess as to what will happen if I give it a third number? Any thoughts? It's a valid guess. Not correct. What do you think it does? So if I say 0, comma 30, it counts from 0 to 30 by ones. If I say 0, 33, it goes 3 times. That's a great guess too. It counts by threes. Watch this. So if I want to count by an interval, I can use that to count by threes. So that's just a handy little trick. There's one more variation on this that I would like to show you. What do you think will happen here? Counts down from 30. So it counts by -1. So I can start at 30, count all the way to 0, and count by -1. Now notice, once again, it does not include the final number. It stops one short of that final number. So always something to keep in mind, whatever number you end your range on, whether you're counting up or down, it's not going to go all the way to that number. It's going to stop at the beginning of that. Yes?
Is there a reason why it doesn't do that number? It just stops
Because what it's doing, and I'm not sure that I would have designed it this way myself, but it's counting. It says we're starting at 0. When it starts at 0, that's this point. So it says 0, we're right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We haven't passed 6 yet. We haven't added 6 to that yet. So it actually terminates prior to that because that's where the starting point of this number is.
Kind of like scientific notation where it's going to move by decimal points, kind of?
Sort of. It's vaguely related to that, yeah. So it's really just about where it's called a pointer, is. So that pointer starts here at 0, 1, 2, 3, and it always is stopping before the number that it's on. Once it passes the number that it's on, then it includes that number in the loop. Yeah. It's kind of an oddity, and in some ways it makes logical sense. In some ways it feels a little bit weird. But it's not the only thing in computer science that's like that, where it makes logical sense if you think about it, but it's a little bit weird. I think it's one of those things where the person that was inventing this at the time sort of had to make a decision, and either way was going to be confusing to some people. So they just did it the way that made sense to them. But and some of these things are, long-standing sort of traditions in computer science and the way we think about computers. So there's a lot of these things and in the case of pointers, it's just how computers think that's dictating it. So the most important thing is that you just remember that it does that. That's really, I always want to know why things happen, but sometimes it's enough to just remember why it does that.